Good day, everybody, and this is BA Radiant Dawn, and joining me, I have Valentia.
The Otter is here once again to make a special cameo appearance. You can find the rest of this footage on our OnlyFans.
Good luck trying to find it. I made the link very special, so good luck, everyone.
Exactly.
Anyway, so as you guys could probably tell by the thumbnail and the title of the video, we're here to talk about how smoke skills are bad on most units. Like 99% of them.
Yes, we believe that there is a sort of fallacy at foul here, and I think we need to speak some gospel about what it's really supposed to be used for.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you guys the problem right now, okay? And the problem is things like these Dimitris, okay? So we got two Dimitris here. The left one is a speed smoke build, which is it's a thing that you can do. And the right one, we have the admirable attack speed menace build, which is arguably, not even arguably, it's just flat out better than the smoke. And we're actually going to get into the reason why the smoke skills are a little overhyped, especially Speed Smoke 4, since we got the lovely new Lynn, who is an absolute speed monster, but because of Speed Smoke, she can't hit her speed checks. Fun! Okay, so controversial opening out of the way. Let's get in. So, Valentia, what is your, like, if you had to pick one main gripe, or like one main problem that these smoke skills have, particularly a speed smoke, but really any smoke skill. But you know what? Let's just focus on speed smoke. What is the biggest gripe about speed smoke that you can give me?
Now, luckily, the main fundamental problems with these skills isn't even just going to be down to just speed smoke, so it's just a universal thing. Mm-hmm. But it comes down to the fact that it's a skill that you actually have to set up for. Now think about other skills that have come out in the past that require some sort of like weird and niche and convoluted setup to get effectiveness out of. The first one that comes to mind, and this is really doing it dirty, is Defiance skills. Remember those things? You have to be in combat to activate those things and to even get any sort of effect afterwards, or even seals for that matter. You have to actually only reap those benefits afterwards, but it's like you get the point though. It's something that you have to set up for, and I think that's what really causes the big knock on. Not the whole the stats that are given from it, but more so the bonuses that are given with these tier 4 skills, especially when it comes down to speed smoke, because let's be honest, we've been very we've been eating good as a community when it comes to damage reduction and dodge stuff. So the fact that units that normally couldn't have gotten dodge before could get it now from this skill made it a very desirable skill to have on some of these units. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that they need to set it up. And that is always going to be a fundamental issue in terms of consistency. Because most units, frankly speaking, they can't be consistent in getting it activated and getting value out of it. So why would you run a skill that isn't consistent and isn't giving you the value that you really want from it?
Yeah. See, my personal problem with it is, like, I have technically a few, but my biggest one is, like, yes, the stats that you get the stat swing you get looks nice on paper until you kind of realize that, like, if you're trying, like, Dimitri here won't get to the enemies before they get to him. So, like, a lot of people, I feel, are using the speed smoke as, like, not only extra damage reduction, but as a speed check. The problem with that is you'd have to initiate combat first and not die. Or the enemy would have to initiate on you and you cannot die. But if you're relying on a speed check to survive, not getting a speed check from the start, like before combat, it's not helping your case, bro. Like, it's kind of bad. Because, like...
That first engagement is always going to be bad, period, because it's just not going to be active. You don't have anything to benefit from, because it's just purely there for the setup. And I can attest to this because I ran stuff like this before. We're talking about Dimitri, but my one example that I can at least give is my own dual Alm, because I recently wanted to try out Speed Smoke 4 because why not, funny shenanigans. But before this, I was running Joint Drive Speed because, yes, I want to get the most speed as I possibly can. And wow, this skill is so inconsistent, just purely. Because frankly speaking, yeah, the stat swing is nice. But lacking that 4 speed that I would have gotten just for being nearby an ally, I miss it. Frankly, I miss it.
Yeah, like this specific build of Legendary Dimitri has 2 different speed checks for damage reduction in the weapon and the B slot with Spurn. So, like, he needs to hit the speed. The problem with the speed smoke is, yes, he's hitting it after he attacks, and like infantry only have 2 movements, so he's got to like cross like 4+ spaces with 2 move, so you'd have to expend extra resources to try to get him there, and even then he has to survive the first combat in order to actually get the benefits. And like, I brought this up to Valentia earlier, right? The issue with like being a tanky type and trying to run a smoke skill, like attack smoke, speed smoke, whatever, is that like, not only do you have to try to win a speed check that you're now losing, like, yeah, let's be generous and say you're losing like 6 speed from running speed smoke prior to, like, before combat. Like, let's say it's like they have like attack speed Oath or something, right? Or attack speed Ruse or whatever. So they're losing like 6 or 7 speed there, which is still pretty bad. That would massively help with the speed swing, with the speed check. However, like, you're having to tank enemies without that. And when your whole kit is revolved around a speed check not hitting it, basically means you don't exist.
Yeah, that's the one issue that I really had for that sort of thing, because that 4 speed for my dual Alm really made a lot more of a difference in terms of securing more doubles, or at least going neutral. Whereas when you're going into a fight with another speedy unit and trying to, you know, just fundamentally try to eliminate them by doubling them and whatnot, now you're probably just either barely doing it, going neutral completely, or just getting doubled outright. And that's another reason why it's weird to set that up, because you might not have what you need in terms of setting it up, because you're just going to do it in a very unfavorable combat, and that's just not going to end up working out. You're just going to end up dead. And if you expend the resources to make it happen, and you find out that, oh wow, this combat forecast is showing I'm going to die, but wait, I can't do anything to recover myself from this, and I don't have a way to restart because look, it's a PvP mode, real time, can't do anything about it. You're just screwed. Just GG, move next.
Yeah, and like, let's be realistic. A lot of people are like looking towards Lyn as fodder because you could get Speed Smoke 4 and you could get Godlike Reflexes, which is a pretty good special, all things considered. But like, the second she dropped, everyone was hyping up. They're like, oh, she's got so much speed. She's got Speed Smoke 4. She's got that A slot. She's got a speed-based special. She's so good. I'm like, no. The problem with her is if an enemy attacks into her, how much speed does she actually have right now? I could actually quickly calc this off the top. Like, I could find the trailer and I could do this very fast.
Yeah, you've done the calculation before, and yeah, she can still get a lot without it. But like, the problem is that you're also going up against units that are just going to just either outspeed completely, or just she's not going to get the max potential that she needs to, and that's a big deal with it. That's the one way you deal with her. Ideally, with a ranged unit, you just attack and just do everything you need to do before she can even retaliate and even get off the smoke. It's just it's that easy.
Like, if I recall correctly, she has a speed super boon, right? So she's also at 44 speed, which is the highest in the game, so kudos on that. That's freaking crazy. 44 speed. Yeah. So that's 48 with an asset. Her weapon gives her +5, so that's 53. Her special gives her nothing. Her Verdict of
Her
Decay,
A skill can give her a lot.
It's like plus 12, which is more than any other A slot could possibly give her.
And that's being generous, too.
That is assuming all her allies are alive, though, but yeah. So that's maximum plus 12, so that's 65. Her B slot gives her nothing, and because her C slot speed smoke 4, her C slot is also giving her nothing. So she has, like, what, 44, 48, 53, 65 with the Verdict of Decay, and let's be generous, and, well, you know what? No. If I give her Blade Session, I have to give someone else Blade Session, so it just cancels out anyway. So she has, like, basically 65 speed right now, which is... It's
a lot easier to do that nowadays than you could have before, and this is saying something because I was used to having a pretty fast duo all things considered. And when I do like the calculations with like my builds, like I can hit over 60 speed easily, but that doesn't mean that other people are getting past that and able to double me more consistently because they have a lot more speed innately and just a lot more skills to just screw me over infinitely. Like, it's not difficult to get over 70 speed now.
Oh, I would honestly say that... oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, yeah, Link can get there, but you have to get her there first. And that's not always consistent. And if you can't get her there, then these units with 70 plus speed or, you know, Wraith Crom, you're just going to lose outright.
Yep. Although, like, Brave Crom is... we shouldn't really count him because he could win almost any stat check.
He can win everything. We cannot beat him. He is inevitable.
Actually,
it is a very unfair
I don't think
adjustment.
he could beat a res check. That's like the one thing he can. He can mine.
Wow, Deirdre won something.
If she's properly... Well, actually, no, even if she's improperly built. Let me just think here for a second.
I can't think of anybody else as a res build, so I can make a joke.
A lot of dragons have a Dragon Wall, too. But,
that's true.
He gets, like, 59 res. For a unit with base 20, getting to 59 is kind of crazy. But, anyway.
It does help.
This is the discussion of speed checks, not res checks. Even though,
yeah.
I'm just saying Brave Crom can hit 107 speed, which I calced him in at. I have a video uploaded on my channel. You guys should check it out.
Ad.
It's freaking crazy. 107 speed is the fastest unit in the game, literally. And that's not counting drives or anything from those other units. That's just straight up his just ability to just steal freaking buffs. But anyway, that's enough.
End of sponsor segment.
Yeah, that's a Brave Crom discussion that people can have later. Yes. I'm glad I jumped on that train prior to anyone else, really. Anyway, so yeah, the main
segment over. Because I also want to go on a little bit more about like the whole like movement sort of thing too, because I think that's another like major thing that's a thing too, because that's always going to be a part of having to like initiate to set that stuff up. It's probably the biggest hindrance when it comes to setting up, because that involves people having to close the distance and people basically letting you do that. Because if we're talking about this in a competitive sort of context, like Summoner Duels, for example, let's be honest, most of the people who are going to be playing that aren't exactly going to let you reap the benefits from a skill that needs setting up like that. Just straight up. People aren't going to let you have your fun. And it hurts even more so when the units that want to use this stuff, like the dodge stuff from Speed Smoke 4, and maybe even the Attack Smoke 4 on certain tanky units, the fact that these units have to travel more than their movement will let them, and this is even being generous if you say have like a legendary Azura giving them a third movement or whatever, because they won't be able to have that as their C slot. Unless you're one of the few units that can actually get 3 movement innately, then okay, you have a little bit more of an edge, but it's still not exactly the best. You don't really have the means of being able to make that distance, close it in, get the combat, and then reap the benefits. And this isn't even counting the fact that, hey, you might not even fight anybody on your enemy phases to benefit from these skills.
Yep.
So it's all of just, it's a giant asterisk ultimately in terms of most of these units being able to set it up. And this is also talking the ideal case. Like, you can run this on any sort of like massive movement unit. I don't think most of them are going to be able to benefit from dodge. Now, can they? Because some of them just might not have the speed, and let alone, can they counter? Probably not. But that's the whole point.
Yeah, like...
everyone's going to try to get the juice out of it. But who really does that more consistently than what other skills can offer?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the answer to that is most likely not many people. Like, I can't even think of anybody who decisively can consistently use a smoke skill more than another option to give similar benefits, if not more.
Yeah, see, like, pertaining to, like, the prior mini topic there, like, what I was going to say was, like, in my opinion, I don't know if you'd agree, but, like, so we'll take a C slot out of the mix. I feel as though, in order to very reliably win a speed check, you'd have to have at least, like, 75-ish speed to reliably win speed checks. Units right now can hit, like a Brave Micaiah could hit, like, 74 pre-Dragonflower pump-up. Like, my Happy doesn't count because she can only hit, like, 60-something. But that's still pretty crazy with the proper build, considering she has, like, base, like, 38 or something. Getting to 60 speed is pretty crazy. I feel like,
for me, it's really hard for me to really... It's not that I can't agree or disagree. It's mostly that I just really don't know that stuff as much nowadays, but that's just me personally. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there are units nowadays that even without, like, getting massively juiced out in their speed, like, you still have units that can be serviceable in, like, PvE modes that make do with enough speed, nothing like 70 plus speed, because, I mean, yeah, you might have some and that'll just be completely more than overkill, more than serviceable, but it's more like for, like, this PvP stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd probably imagine that the gold standard is probably going to be at least above 70.
Yeah.
So,
but, like, I think we could both agree that if you don't count seals, and with speed smoke and the C slot, you're not hitting that. You're not anywhere close to hitting that.
Like, unless you're someone who's already jacked out with it, but at that point,
yeah.
Again, where does the classification go to? Who is hitting 70 speed without a C or a seal and is able to benefit from those smoke skills?
Yeah, like...
Again, like, who?
Like I said, let's look at Lynn. I just capped her in at 65 speed because she has a C smoke in the C slot, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have 66, she just can't do anything. Well, actually, technically, because her special has, like, a built-in, if unit speed is greater than foe speed -4. So let's give her an extra +3. That's 68, which is close to where I want it to be, but there's still going to be units that outspeed her outright. And this is, like, we're talking about the fastest unit in the game here, okay? And she's still not quite where she needs to be because she has speed smoke in the C slot. Now, both me and Valentia do agree 100% that these smoke skills aren't that great on paper. Like, they look good on paper. We both think people are kind of blinded by the numbers, by the damage reduction for speed smoke 4, stuff like that. We both agree on that. We do not quite agree on one fact in terms of the movement. Like, what was your point about the movement again? Just gonna need a bit of a refresher.
My point was that I feel like it's still hard to close the distance, even if you have, like, some, like, 3 movement, even whether or not you have Kanto, because I feel like even considering that sort of stuff, it still comes down to those units using these skills, getting them off, and actually reaping the benefits. Because Brett here thinks that that calves can really, like, use these smoke skills a lot more effectively, which to an extent they can, but for example, that he had given, like, Brave Erica could theoretically use speed smoke in order to really, like, benefit. Yeah. But my whole point is, why would she want dodge in the first place when she doesn't really have an enemy phase to speak of when it comes of using that dodge to tank something that might be unfavorable to her? That was my sort of whole point, and where I find it can be for other offensive Cavaliers. Hence why Attack Smoke 4, I think, is, like, the better smoke skill to use on Cavaliers, mostly down to just what it can do in terms of, hey, if they are going to be doing some enemy face combat, it's going to be something that's valuable to them, because 9 times out of 10, those Cavaliers that are tanky are usually ones that aren't going to have speed. So being able to deny the double is going to be a lot better than trying to tank 40% of that damage based on a speed check that they are never going to win.
Well, when I'm thinking, like, the reason why I was thinking with Brave Erica, right, is that she's up there in the fastest units in the game. She's not the fastest, but she's pretty high up there. And her weapon has, like, a built-in damage reduction as well. So getting double damage reduction might actually help her survive more things. Especially if you Kanto her out of the way, so only one unit can attack her anyway. So if you plan it like that, it could be beneficial. Because that's, once she attacks, kills a unit, which it's Brave Erica, it's a good chance the enemy's going to die. Then you can, like, Kanto away. She gets the extra damage reduction. She gets a 13-point speed swing to help her win her speed check from that damage reduction from the speed smoke. So, like, she would, because she has built-in damage reduction already, she's one of the few Cavs I feel could greatly, not necessarily greatly benefit, but could actually see some use out of it. Because of the hit and run aspect, you can Kanto out of the way of the enemy, put her in a specific position where only one unit can attack her, but even then, all they have to do is just not attack her. And then and then I actually kind of bounce back to your concept of, like, if you're not getting any use out of it, then what is that skill actually doing?
Yeah, because even then, like, you're saying just, like, one combat an enemy face where she gets the benefit from it. Oh, wow, you use this skill to get, like, a benefit off of a combat that isn't necessarily the most, like, favorable for, and just, like, one is like, oh, wow, that's great value.
Yeah,
whereas, like, I feel like you get more consistent value even without that. You just get more consistent value from another ski skill that just helps her out more infinitely. Yeah. And the main argument that we had for it is that like, why would you run smoke skills, especially on Cavaliers, when menaces exist to give essentially the stat check benefit more consistently, much easier, and you can benefit from the value of it in almost every single scenario possible.
Yeah, the only way that I can think of is, like, because the thing with the menaces about what makes them so good, especially attack speed menace, by the way, is the fact that, like, the menaces have a range of 4. So even including freaking Legendary Sigurd, Brave Seliph, really those are the only ones that can actually natively have, like, 4 movement. They're still, if they're in range, they're still going to get hit by this. So either they have to rush you, or you have to rush, like, or if the enemy has the menace skill, you have to rush them initially from outside of the range and then try to get into it. Now, this is where I kind of lean more in favor of, like, there's very specific instance where the smoke will actually be more beneficial than an attack speed menace. And that's specifically on teams that operate off of, like, Pathfinder duo dagger shenanigans. Assuming, let's not even look at Thoki just negating that shit, okay? Even though everyone uses Thoki. I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt to the skill. I'm giving it every valuable freaking, like, I'm giving it the world here and seeing what I can do with it, okay?
Yeah. And not everybody's going to run it anyway. Like, not everyone's going to have a Thor or a Thoki, so it's like, it's not always going to be applicable. I mean, actually,
a lot of people, in order to get to the higher
a lot of people do.
Yeah,
she is really dumb, but for the sake of the argument here, it's like,
yeah, well,
we don't want her in this.
Yeah, she's making the skill worse. I'm trying to help it make it look a little bit better, but, like, just the fact that you need either a Pathfinder unit on the team or duo dagger in order for the skill to actually be more useful than a menace. That is a lot of investment, a lot of resources, and a lot of orbs and frickin' combination things to make one skill better than the other outright, okay? Yeah. So, like, with that tactic, you can actually pop the duo skill on turn 2, have whoever with the speed smoke rush forward outside it, like, for past 4 movement range of a menace that a menace could give, and then just pop. And then if they're tanky enough, they could just sit there. The problem with that is, again, there's counterplay measures, and then you have a unit who's more so a tank, or trying to play a tanky role, trying to player phase an enemy tank, it's still not looking good for
it's a lot of hurdles that you have to jump through.
Exactly. It's way more trouble than it's actually worth just to get a little bit of more damage reduction. You could also just, like, you know, if you're really that concerned about damage reduction, you could just give them better damage reduction turn 1 and just run a menace.
Yeah. Like ultimately, what I think ends up happening is that like these skills just straight up are just very selfish in nature, and to get the most value out of it is always having to jump through every single hurdle that you can really think of that's within your control, not even counting everything that's out of your control, like, again, other players or other units that shut it down. Cough, Thoki. But the point is that if you want to be able to reap the benefits of using, like, these skills for these sort of, like, reasons, you're better off running a menace, because the way that I see it more is that, sure, if you can set up the smokes and that sort of thing, you can get a little bit more range and more benefit from those debuffs past the 4 spaces. But the fact that you can still apply debuffs, like, just even innately, use other people to benefit from those debuffs that you then apply, and just work off of that, I feel like that's a lot more beneficial than it's worth having to have a second ability. As long as you have something that is of value to your team, that is always what's going to be useful, because this is, you know, a team game. You're not always trying to omni-tank. That's why omni-tanking, for the most part, is dead. That's why you have saviors units now, and other hit-and-run shenanigans, because that's just how things are. Units are now going into more extreme niches where they can't always do everything.
Yeah.
And the one caveat that I at least want to give to at least giving some sort of credit to for IS in terms of not really game balance, but, you know, at least making the options of smokes a little bit more grain, a little bit more like, hey, this can actually be a benefit. Defense res smoke 4, mostly down to the fact that they don't just give one stat buff / debuff, because that can help with further teammates doing offensive stuff. But I think the fact that the Pathfinder is on there can lead to more benefit that's, you know, it's not selfish. Pathfinder is a very selfless type of skill. So if you were to slap that on a Baraka, if you want to do that, because, well, she can do stuff pretty well statistically. Like, she doesn't necessarily need attack speed menace in order to double sometimes. So being able to just go in, get off the defense res smoke, and then get away, while also acting as a Pathfinder bot for your allies, it just makes it so that that initiation can then further turn into more benefit. And I think that ideally is what smoke should be a little bit more used for, in terms of, you know, not having to jump through as many hurdles to make these bonus abilities through these smokes be functionable for team play.
Yeah, because, like, for, like, let's say, like, the speed smoke, right? It's only the one unit that's actually getting any usage out of it. The user of the unit is the only one that's getting anything. Everyone else doesn't matter. And it's like, the Pathfinder one, like, defense res smoke is arguably, in my opinion, the best smoke, just because, like you said, it grants Pathfinder, and, like, it's really easy to kind of set up. One thing that I just thought of that you could also, like, kind of tilt in favor of the smoke skills a smidge is, like, if you ran it with, like, a unit that has wind sweep or water sweep or whatever, initiating on an enemy that, like, so, like, imagine for a second the defense res smoke that I think that was Layla that had that, the seasonal Layla, right?
I believe so, yes.
So not only can she do, like, a hit and return kind of thing, isn't it?
Something along those lines, kind of not. Like, the return to me thinks more so like Nina, but the others kind of have that sort of thing.
She has some kind of weird Kanto concept, anyway.
I've honestly forgotten all of them besides Nina, because I only have Nina, but
yeah, Nina's OP. I mean, you know what? Screw it. Let's take a look at Nina. So let's give Nina wind sweep or water sweep or fire sweep, whatever. Let's have her initiate on an enemy that cannot counterattack, which she can because she's got 4 movement, that's 6 range. If she pops her duo skill, right?
Yeah.
She hits that defense. She has defense res smoke. She runs up. She pops an enemy. They can't counterattack. They're possibly dead. If not, they're heavily damaged and debuffed, and now debuffed more because I think the weapon has like the typical dagger effect of like attack speed -6, right? So now they're getting attack speed defense res minus like 6/7, and then now she has Pathfinder, so enemy, and then she returns to her initial position. So you can have her in the front. She pops out, deletes an enemy, or at least heavily damages them, retreats back to her starting point. She has Pathfinder now. Everyone else surges forward an extra space and just bum rushes the enemy. That is a good tactic and a good use of a smoke skill. But no.
The only caveats being, you're doubling up on the debuffs, and let alone, why not just run like a Gale Force set if you want to set something up like that? That's how things end up coming down to, and it's like, my brain is hurting. It's like, just let me play the game. It's all a mess.
Yeah, like that is like the best interaction like any of the smoke skills really have. In every other instance, you could just do the same thing, but like with a different skill. Like, let's say Dimitri on the left here, or like either Dimitri's didn't have Spurn. They had their native B slot, which I don't think gives damage reduction. I'm actually gonna have to check because I actually don't use it that often.
No, it gives like the weird spectrum smoke thing with the pulse smoke.
Yeah. No. So let's say he has that, right? So the question is, so the builds basically are Atrocity in B and Speed Smoke versus Spurn and Attack Speed Menace. And the answer still is the Attack Speed Menace. You're getting more stats. So I did the calculations. So the issue with like speed checks is like it's before combat, technically, / in combat. After combat, doesn't fucking matter. Sorry for the swearing, guys. It does not matter at all. Your stats after combat don't care for speed checks because it's during that combat. What happens after is irrelevant. And like I gave this example to Valentia earlier, and Valentia, you kind of agreed on this. It's like, oh, so let's assume that like Dimitri survives. Like this Dimitri survives the enemy's initiation, so like he gets the effect. Cool. There's now one enemy in the way, so that's one less enemy that could actually attack him. More than likely, he's barely in range in the first place, so like, no one else is going to attack him. So what did the speed smoke do? It's sitting there doing nothing, because no one else can attack.
That's like the bare minimum of the less value. The other extreme that you can get is that you send him all the way in with like a smite bot, and he cannot tank everything, so he's just going to die. Mm-hmm. Ideally, or at least like most unideally, rather, is that you have him go up against like Duo Corn or something, and you just die because you're getting deleted.
Yep.
Because that's how it works.
Because like in the first combat, he's missing the extra speed. Because he's missing the extra speed, he's missing his speed checks. Because he's missing his speed checks, he doesn't get the damage reduction. Because he doesn't get the damage reduction, he just gets yeeted out a window. Now, I did the calculations. For the speed smoke Dimitri on the left, basically his speed is 66. Like I said before, in this current day and age, because I always use attack speed solo because I keep forgetting blade sessions of the thing. So 80 speed with attack speed solo. So without the solo, that's 74 speed. So that's about, without a C slot, where you want to be for speed to actually mostly reliably hit your speed checks and actually get the benefits of the speed check. Now, 66 versus 74. That sounds like it's not a very big window, but that is a whole ton of enemies that can now double you, kill you, and make your damage reduction invalid. Now, the Dimitri on the right, which with the Menace instead, adds plus 12 to that, which is 78 speed. Now, here's the thing, like I said before, you need to hit 74 roughly without a without a seal in order to get your speed check going right. While attack speed Menace pumps him up to essentially, because versus his opponent goes down 6 speed, he gains 6 speed. He basically puts him up to 78 speed, which is actually pretty freaking good, especially in the, even currently, that is, actually solid.
And if you want to take it a little bit, more of a caveat, you can even say, because you're probably not always going to be attacked by a unit that is afflicted by the Menace at the same time, because, again, things happen. Other enemies can soak the Menaces, and some might not get it. you'll still be at 72 speed, which frankly is more workable than being in the 60s.
Exactly. Like mid-60s too, which is just terrible. I know, like, it's funny how we're going from like Gen 1 where it's like, whoa, I have like 40 speed. Now it's like, dude, I have 70. This sucks.
And you can get even over 100. And even that threw me off because it's like, how do you have a unit that can functionally get over 100? That feels unfathomable, yet at the same time, I am so numb to the pain that I am not surprised, and I do not care.
I love making that video. Freaking 107 speed.
It's just something had to be figured out, and now all of our conversations are immediately irrelevant.
Because he needs every speed check. So, like, I'm just like, and the funny thing is about the Brave, my base kit Brave Crom, it's not just base kit, it's no asset, no merge, no flower. Like,
see, if you can get benefit from that sort of stuff without having to try to force it with a C skill, because surely a lot of other units besides Brave Crom can do that, then it's like, what's the point? You can get more consistent value elsewhere, and I think that's the whole main point of contention, is that it's nice to be able to have some of these things that most units can't normally get. Yeah. And I thought about this when it first came out, when Speedsmoke 4 first dropped, is that, wow, Beasts can finally get damage reduction. They aren't getting cucked by the developers. It's like, sure, that's cool and all, but it's like, is it really something that consistently ends up working at the end of the day? Yeah. And I feel like in the case for most Beast units that could say try using that damage reduction, it just might not even matter. Not even just for the initiation's sake and that sort of thing, but just, will they even really get value out of it? I genuinely don't think so. And I think that's how ultimately I kind of feel about it, is that there's a lot of other stuff out there that just can give a bit more consistent benefit than other things for a lot of units.
Yeah, like, let's look at attack speed Oath 4. That has the teleportation, like, is it just to teleport adjacent to an ally within 2 spaces, or 2 spaces away from an ally within 2 spaces? I know it's something
one space
like that.
Within 2 spaces, I believe.
Yeah, which is like crazy, and that also gives you attack and speed. So you're still getting more value and you're getting
an ally either. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Like, that skill is actually insane. Meanwhile, Speed Smoke, it's cute. It's better than the original Speed Smoke 3. Okay, well, we have no problem admitting that. But all smoke skills are pretty freaking bad overall.
It's rough, honestly, because if you want to benefit from the stuff that it gives you, it's a lot more effort than we'd at least like to think it's worth. And as much as dodge is really funny, it's I mean, yes, have fun with all of your max dodge builds with Vital Astra, Spurn, a perf. It's like, hey, why not have some fun there? I mean, I can name at least one person that enjoys that on their legendary Dimitri, because it honestly is kind of funny, stupid, but it's like, it's so not necessarily globally effective to where it's kind of just, Like, and it's like, sure, to have fun, but it's like, is it always effective everywhere?
I was about to say, I was like, I actually want to ask, like, how much use does he actually get out of the Speed Smoke 4? Like, how much use do people, like... Okay, so the reason why we're making this video in the first place is because we've both seen so many people. I hopped on the Facebook group and I saw 3 people being like, hey, I want to give this to this unit. And every single time they're infantry, which kind of annoyed me. Because, like I said, I personally believe Cavs make the best use of them because at least they can, like, especially ones with built-in Canto, they can hit, run. They can actually do something with the skill. Infantry, unless you're using Duo Dagger, you're getting no use out of the skill, even with Duo Dagger. Like, okay, that's cute. You could also use them as part of a Pathfinder line, put them in the front and tank, so when your far-reaching Pathfinder unit dies eventually, because they will, the enemy will still have to deal with a tank right after that they have to attack into.
And then you have other units that don't even necessarily need that have the innate 3 movement. Hello to Brave and Yuri.
Yep.
One, Yuri already has like the dagger effects and that sort of thing. And usually he's better off with pre-charging specials because he can use the effective 5 movement he has to give a fair chunk of damage because of Timeless Pulse and other shenanigans afoot. And then Brave Alm, because he's not necessarily the most speedy unit, he's better off running Attack Speed Menace because he can get that very easily without any sort of effort in terms of skill inheritance. But then also just just having the consistency be present on him completely just makes a lot more sense, while also having essentially everything else that he kind of needs. He has the wind sweep. He has a lot more of the stats getting stacked up. It's just he has everything there. He doesn't necessarily need dodge.
Yeah.
So it's like being able to get that from like Speed Smoke 4 is the point is that for those two it's kind of redundant. So then you have everyone that isn't 3 movement, and it's like, well, it's can you really make the distance within 2? And it's like, no, probably not.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, it's more so like people will still like whoever's watching this. I know we're gonna get some angry comments. Just like at the end of the day, people are gonna build their units the way they want. We are just saying that the smoke skills are not ideal if you're trying to win like stat checks. Like there's not a defense smoke 4, is there? It's defense res combined.
Yeah, it's all of them combined together.
Yeah, which is like the good one out of the batch, really. Yes. But
because it released months after, so it's like they kind of had maybe some initial thoughts and realized, okay, this is kind of what we see. Now that we can do this for when we release this skill down the line. At least that's what I like to think. I like to imagine that Intelligent Systems has an idea of what they want to release in some sort of quote-unquote game balance, but what am I going on? I'm probably a heretic creating about game balance and a gotcha, but yeah, that's just who I am.
I think what we're trying, like the point we're trying to get across is like, yes, build your units the way you want, but if you're trying to do a competitive kind of thing, or if you're trying to do a unit that has a stat check, just think about it before you give them these skills, because they're not getting it on the first combat. So if they don't survive the first combat, you get nothing out of it. And even if they do survive, like I said before, it's gonna. This is exactly how it's gonna play out. So Dimitri sit there tank with Speed Smoke 4. Enemy attacks into Dimitri. Either A, he just dies because he's not getting damage reduction anymore, or B, well, assuming they're fast, which, let's face it, 99% of the units are like freaking speed gods at this point. Like, they could hit pretty high speed, so more than likely he'll die. Or let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's a unit that ties him in speed. So they don't double, they don't kill, because he's got some damage reduction already. That unit is now stuck there if they don't have Canto. So let's just say, like, no Canto. But even if they do have Canto, they could still be in the way. But let's say no Canto, so they're just stuck in that position in front of him. Now, either A, that's a Cav unit who went this far to attack into him, so no other units can reach, so the Speed Smoke does nothing. Or there's, let's say, a teleporting harmonized Sonya who just yeets you out of existence because she has a AoE special, and
or even Luna.
Yeah, and she just yeets you that way. Like, it might work, but it's not reliable at all. So before you fodder and fodder these smoke skills, just consider what you're trying to use them for. If you're trying to use them for tanking, just stick with a menace. It'll do you so much better because you could just sit there, and if anyone is in full range of you, which they 90% of the time will be, you just sit there and you win. Or no, you don't necessarily win, but you do better. You might survive.
If you want damage reduction, just stick with the B skill in order to get the dodge. You don't need to double it up because it's not like you're getting 80%. We've known that since day one of dodge.
Yes.
But to be even more broader, it's more that it's not that you wouldn't be getting value out of it. It's more that it's just, do you want to be a little bit more like inconsistent, that sort of thing? Do you want everything to be more of an if and not a definite? That's what it ends up coming down to, because again, it's not like they're bad skills. It's just it's kind of hard to force value out of some stuff because not every situation is going to let you be able to use these in the effective just echo chamber that you want it to. Like, you can think of everything that you want them to do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen. And in reality, that's not what's happening a lot of the time anyway. Because, again, the extremes end up being you either just straight up die, nobody's in your range for you to even benefit, or it's just it doesn't really actually make a whole difference. Because I think the one thing that you forgot in that whole rhetoric is that sometimes it might not even matter, because if it's just neutral in general, with or without the smoke skill it being present, it's like it might not even matter to where it's just a stalemate, period.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can have other skills that make stuff like that not a stalemate and make it not a headache and something you can actually fully control without the enemy kind of just saying no, then I would think that's kind of just better.
Yeah.
Without even going into a whole point of them being more selfish. Because it's like you can play all the game modes that don't let you get screwed over, and you can be as selfish as you want. It still comes down to being consistent with whatever outlier is still kind of just thrown your way.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes down to there are other skills that kind of just give that more benefit than something that just takes a little bit more to set up that doesn't always give the best results.
Yeah. Like, we're just consider whether or not the skill is going to be useful to you before you give it to A unit, B unit, C unit, you know? Just be like, look at it as though, like, what do I want this unit to do? And how much will they actually benefit from this, from my playstyle, from everything? If you're more of a defensive player, you are not going to see anything out of the speed smoke. If you're more offensive, it might help you live, like, one more turn. But, like, all you're getting is a little bit more dodge and, like, 1 point more speed swing. But then at start of turn, you just die because you get less speed. So in almost every instance, the meta skills are superior. If you want a stat swing in your favor, if you have a stat check, it's just go with Menace. It's easier. It's cheaper, technically. There's a lot more copies of Menaces than there are of freaking Speed Smoke or any of the smoke skills. Because the only rate, like, Speed Smoke's on 2 units. Or 3? 2. I think
it's 2 now, yes.
Yeah.
And even if you aren't trying to go for the stat swings and you want, like, some, like, these weird, funky bonus effects, 9 times out of 10 you can get them in another slot for most units, or you just might want something that's just better, like more different. Because not everyone needs a stat check. Sometimes they just need to be able to spam specials with times pulse, and that just ends up working out infinitely.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to have the thoughts of the ideas and to even just make it work for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, if you're not really getting much value out of it, is it really that helpful to you in the first place? And that's something that we want you to be able to at least reflect on before you make some sort of decision to be like, oh, I should have put this skill on this unit. Why did I put it on this one? I'm sad. I don't want to have to spend more money. Because that's something you have to be conscious about. Because, again, this is a gotcha. You don't want to have to spend money if you don't want to, because you screwed up by giving a skill that should have been on a unit to that unit when it could have went on someone else, frankly. It's just...
Yeah.
You need to be able to gauge your judgment here, and I think the whole rhetoric is that it's better that you try to use your judgment elsewhere and just not take the risk on smoke skills.
Yeah, because, like, both of the units that comes with the smoke skills, like particularly Speed Smoke, they're really good units. It's like, what, Fallen Lilith and the new Lyn?
And it's like they don't even necessarily really need that. They can be more consistent units
with other skills too.
Nice thing to kind of have. It's like Lilith has it because she's a very offensive unit that doesn't have Dragon Wall and that sort of thing, because I don't think her res is that high. And Lyn is just like a mega tank, so it kind of just works, and she doesn't have innate dodge, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily the best thing to use, is the point.
Yeah, like, I think Lyn has, like, damage reduction or special. So, like, But yeah, it's just
that because of the defensive special thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole weird thing.
It's really interesting. Like this is a really weird chain of skills, and it's if you guys are going to just do it anyway, or for those of you who have, do a couple try runs in Summoners Duels. Let us know how it goes, and just watch how many times having Speed Smoke triggered, let's say, actually helped you. Just take a tally. Go, did I die here? Like, did the Speed Smoke do anything? B, if it did it do much? And C, could another skill have been of better use? That's all we're asking. Like, if you
or even just give your experiences too, because most people have probably tried using it on sort of units, and it's like, yeah, you probably haven't gotten that much benefit. Just let us know what you think. What units did you kind of script on giving this to, or at least just give us some sort of insight that we haven't covered here, because the main thing that we don't really know is that who really benefits from this stuff the most, because we honestly can't think there's really anybody who can unanimously. It's just we don't know. So being able to get more perspective on it is just it's going to be a lot more helpful, not just for us, but for you as well.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is a discussion type sort of thing going on for how long, but you get the point. We all need to collectively get this community to realize that, hey, this stuff might not be as good as it seems, and just being able to talk about it is better than just letting people not be aware.
Yeah.
The information needs to be out there, folks.
Like, the main reason why I want to do this video is because I literally I had a comment on 3 different posts today in a Facebook group saying, oh, should I fodder, and it's always a Speed Smoke, should I fodder this to this unit? Or, hey, what do you guys think of my build? And it is Speed Smokes in the C slot. And I'm just like, mentally, I am screaming.
I think that's what it ends up being for a lot of the people on the r/play subreddit for even simpler questions.
Yeah.
So it's... Ugh.
But anyway, thank you everyone who has tuned in so far. If you actually made it to the end of the video, comment speed check. If you made it to the end of the video, comment speed check. If you want to argue with one of us in the comments, I know some people are going to be very upset about this take that the smoke skills are just not overly great. You're more than welcome to try to persuade us. It might not work. But
I would like other
if you end up finding something that I cannot disagree
with,
I will concede, and you will win. I can be nitpicky, and you have to really prove I'm wrong. But if you do, I will concede, and then I will let Valentia know, be like, yo, you got to check out this point. So,
yes.
Anyway, if you guys didn't, like I said, if you guys stuck around to the very end, comment speed check. It'd be really cool. I've never even tried to do that before in a video, so pretty excited to see who watches to the very end. And if you did enjoy this video, definitely check out Valentia's channel. The link's in the description, just saying. And also check out the other stuff I do, like my showcase team for 107 Brave Crom, unmerged, unflowered, no asset, no super boon, no nothing. This is just sparked base Crom with nothing given to him besides a team.
Folks, he's gone mad. He can't stop talking about the Brave Crom.
God, I'm so excited about this because I'm like, dude, I just broke this unit in half. And he just... Yes. Okay. I've got a couple meme videos in mind for Brave Crom, so you guys will see that later. Also, if you guys like streams, you should follow me on Twitch because I'm trying to do a Cypherbox giveaway of B22. If you don't know what that is, Google it. Check it out. It's a Fire Emblem Cypher card game. It's a box. It'll be sealed. You
can't buy it yourself even if you want it.
Some lucky viewer will get it for free, so you don't have to spend money on it, which is beautiful. Free stuff is always nice. I'm trying to do that with my first payday from Twitch, so follow, help me out with that. Watch my streams. I stream Faye. I stream nerdcore music. I stream lately Path of Radiance Maniac mode, and I'm working my way up to a challenge later on. So if you guys want to see me ultimately suffer, that's a great place to be. And last thing I want to say, I'm at 299 subs, damn it. Help me get to 300. I've seen other
If
people
you're
say
the 300 subscriber, I will give you a pat on the back and maybe let you name my firstborn child.
quite literally, like I see a lot of people do say this in videos, which is weird, but like it's free. It's always been free, you know. I think everyone knows how a subscription on YouTube works. Just like it allows my videos to pop up in your feed. So if you want to see wacky team builds and stuff, like see what I'm up to, that's a good way to do it.
And even see more discussion videos that take a lot of your time, but hey, why not? It's for the algorithm. It's for the watch time. And
Quite literally,
this
this is a kind of video that people could just turn on and listen to while they do other stuff. And honestly, I kind of like that kind of content that you don't have to sit there and watch like the video the whole time because you're just sitting there watching an hour-long video.
If you want episode 2 of the Val and Brett podcast, like and subscribe, comment down below if you want it.
I do have a plan for 300 subs. Just saying, it's gonna be something new on my channel you guys have never seen. It's a brand new game. I think it's a gacha game too, possibly. But if you're curious,
oh my god, Mario Kart 2! Oh wait.
Anyway, if you guys did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, this is B. We're gonna sign it off. Bye. See you, everybody.
Bye bye.